All Americans are entitled to the even-handed application of the law, to due process of the law, and to the presumption of innocence.
Citing intense public interest, U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland breaks his silence, moving to release information about the FBI's unprecedented search of former President Donald Trump's home, a search that ignited a political firestorm across the country. Hello, everyone. I'm Asiye Namdar in for Anna Naidu, and you're watching The Heat. Well, he may no longer be president, but Donald Trump is still dominating the headlines in the United States. On Monday, the FBI conducted a court-authorized search at his Florida residence. According to the Washington Post, among other things, they were looking for highly classified documents relating to nuclear weapons. Mr. Trump called the unprecedented search a weaponization of the justice system. Angry supporters rallied to his side, some calling for violence. By the end of the week, in an attempt to dampen the rhetoric, Attorney General Merrick Garland asked a federal court to unseal the search warrant and property receipt, a list of what was taken by the FBI. Hours later, the former president said he would not oppose the move. So much to talk about. Let's bring in our panel. Eleanor Clift is with us. She's a political columnist at the Daily Beast. Douglas Sloan is a Democratic strategist and a principal with the National Capital Strategy Group. Eric Bolling hosts A Balance on Newsmax Television. And finally, Gene Rossi is a former U.S. attorney and federal prosecutor. Thank you and welcome to the program, everyone. What an extraordinary week. First, of course, the FBI search of Donald Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago, then Merrick Garland's sudden announcement that he's moving to unseal the search warrant. Now Trump saying he won't block the release. Of course, at this moment, the documents have not been released. Gene, let me begin with you. What is your sense of what could be in these documents? What is the FBI looking for? And what if, in fact, they are nuclear weapon related?
Well, what they were looking for, we won't know until we get a copy of the search warrant, the one-page document that will list the statute or statutes that Mr. Trump or President Trump allegedly violated based on a probable cause standard. We won't know the details behind that one-page search warrant. That will be found in the long affidavit in support of it that will be sealed and will not be made available to the public. We don't know what they took out of the house because we don't have the list of items to be seized. But to get to your point about the nuclear documents, I cannot think of a set of documents more important to the United States of America than nuclear information. I guess a close second would be plans for a military invasion. So we don't know if this is all speculation or if these sources are accurate, but it takes a lot of probable cause and a lot of effort on the part of the Justice Department to search the former president's home, because this is the most important, and I'm not overstating this is the most important search warrant in the history of the Department of Justice, bar none. Wow.
Eric, let me go on to you. President Trump, of course, says, all this is a hoax. There is no nuclear-related material. He was also free to release the search warrant all along. He did not. Why didn't he? Why not release the list of what the FBI took from his home immediately? He's had the receipt since Monday.
Well, he tried to, and I had Christina Bobb, who's the attorney for Trump, who was at the Mar-a-Lago residence when the search took place, when the FBI raid, let's call it what it is, when the raid took place. Christina Bobb is the lawyer who compiled 10 boxes worth of requested information by the FBI, sent it to the FBI in June. The last time Christina Bobb heard from the FBI was on Monday night when the raid happened. They never asked her additional information, additional documents. They knocked the door down. She got a call when it was happening. She got there. And for the record, Gene, for you to go and use hyperbole like, this is the most important nuclear information, the most important warrant. We don't know if that was part of it, so that's just pure speculation on your part. And by the way, folks, tell us how important and how good the FBI is at requesting a FISA warrant to break down a door of someone's or warrant to listen in on an American citizen's private property in place. They did that when John McCain went to the FBI. The FBI went to the FISA court, and the FISA court gave the FBI a warrant to wiretap Trump Tower before he was president. Now, it turned out to be garbage, that whatever the information that the FBI brought.
But at the end of the day, Eric.
But how do we know? But my point is, if you want to speculate on what it could be, I'll go the other end and say, I'll speculate. It's no more damaging than any of the 30,000 emails that Hillary Clinton lost or the 50,000 documents that Barack Obama still has.
All right. But at the end of the day, former President Trump had a choice to make. He could have released the documents. Let me go on to Eleanor. Eric said the FBI knocked down the door. He also calls it a raid, like most Republicans have. The FBI says this was not a raid. What do you make of this the unprecedented developments that we have seen all this week? Eleanor.
Well, this was an 18-month negotiation to retrieve documents that the former president removed from the White House and took to Mar-a-Lago, documents that he is not entitled to have. There were 2 subpoenas issued. He defied one of them. A second subpoena requested aerial footage of Mar-a-Lago because obviously I think the FBI wanted to see who was coming and going. Lots of foreign visitors, various people which could be involved perhaps in what the president is doing with these materials. So I think everybody wants to know
more speculation.
And they are apparently related to national security. And this president has a history, when he was in office, of being very casual with American secrets. Remember, he had the Russian ambassador in the Oval Office at one point talking about an intelligence operation involving the Israelis. And so I think there is some concern that he would have these materials, that he could use them to blackmail other foreign leaders, or he could use them to monetize information that he has. I mean, this is a president who cannot be trusted with this material. So let's wait and see what the Justice Department reveals. Let's if the documents exonerated Mr. Trump in any way, he would have released them. So we are in the middle of an ongoing story, and I think we should respect the evolution of the facts. But there is suspicion about how this former president might be handling sensitive information, and I think that's legitimate, and that the Attorney General has spoken more about an ongoing investigation, probably more than he would like. And I think there's concerns whether this is a standalone case about records and it's a process case, or is this somehow connected to the January 6th insurrection? It's another thing we don't know. Everybody is speculating. Let's wait for the facts.
And Eric, you were saying that this is all speculation. I just want to quickly go back to Jean. Can you issue a search warrant, Jean, purely based on speculation? There was probable cause here.
Well, I'm going to agree with Eric. I don't get into the whole going off on tangents regarding Hillary and Obama. But what I said at the beginning, if you listened, is this is alleged conduct. That's number one. But I stand by, I worked for the Department of Justice for almost 30 years, Eric. I have never heard of a search warrant of a former president's home. So it is the most historic search warrant. But I agree with you, Eric. We are just speculating. This could all be a nothing burger. I totally agree. It could just be an allegation that certain documents relating to the Records Protections Act, whatever you want to call it, and they assume that President Trump concealed them. And at the end of the day, it could be a nothing burger, but it could be something more. And what's important here is this. if we don't have the affidavit in support of the search warrant, and we're probably never going to get it in the near future, we don't know if they were just looking at that one statute. We don't know how much negotiation was done with President Trump's lawyers. We don't know if there was an informant. We don't know anything.
I do, though.
So I agree
Gene,
with Eric.
I do.
Hold on.
I do.
I agree with Eric.
I do know. Gene, I do know. I know that.
Eric, let me finish. I agree with you. It could be total speculation, but at the end of the day,
we don't know. Your comment was we don't know how much negotiation was going on between the FBI and and President Trump's lawyers. Christina Bobb was on my show 2 nights ago. Tonight I have Ilana Haba, who's another one of the president's lawyers. I do know. They didn't hear from the FBI after they turned over the records in June. They didn't hear from them until they got a knock on the door of Mar-a-Lago. And I'm not suggesting the FBI is speculating. I'm suggesting our panelists are speculating what might be in them, and that's right. Dangerous to. I will tell you though. Listen, Gene, correct me if I'm wrong. The FBI can get a search warrant. They can go in there and. What the heck do they need to do in Melania's wardrobe in her closet? But they can look around, and if they find something, look.
Let me answer that.
Okay, gentlemen, we got to bring in Douglas into the conversation. Douglas, you have been very patiently waiting here. Gene basically saying all this could be, and I'm quoting him here, could be a nothing burger. Whether it's a nothing burger or if it's something substantial, the truth here is it has also increased the rhetoric of extremism, violent rhetoric, threats since that FBI search. We saw what happened with that armed suspect in Cincinnati trying to storm the FBI offices there. There was a standoff. The man was killed on social media. He made a call to be ready for combat and kill FBI on site. Also a surge in tweets mentioning civil war. What is happening in this country? I mean, what is this doing to the unity of this country? What does it tell you about the division in this country?
Well, yeah, I agree 110%. At this point, this country isn't necessarily unified, especially on the issue of politics. And I just want to speak. I love the back and forth between these two guys, by the way. But I just want to speak. I think it's Gene's point. I'm reticent to believe that there's nothing there, that it could be a nothing burger when the Attorney General and the FBI made a decision to raid a former president's residence. That is unprecedented, like you said. So I'm reluctant to think that there's nothing there. I'm pretty confident that they went in knowing that something was there. But again, we'll see at the end of the day. To your point regarding the unity of this country and the violence we're seeing, this is unprecedented. This is ridiculous. This is a direct result of some of the violent rhetoric that we're hearing in that right-wing echo chamber. We have U.S. Senator Rick Scott coming out and saying that the FBI is like the Gestapo. We have all of this crazy violent rhetoric coming out from House members Marjorie Taylor Greene and the such. And unfortunately, we have violent right-wing extremists that are going to act on it. You saw this guy went and attacked an FBI field office. That is ridiculous. That is insane. So we really need the congressional Republicans and other right-wing and conservative talk shows and talk show hosts like Eric to come out and really try to put a damper on some of this violent extremist rhetoric that is really lighting a fire under some of those Trumpers out there that are going to go out, grab their guns, and assault people. We've seen it. So I would hope that, and I know Eric is a good guy. I know he doesn't believe in any of this violence, and he wants to see a unified country as much as anyone. But we really need Republicans now to come forward and stand up and be the adults in the room and say, wait a minute, violence is not the answer. We need to calm down. We need to wait for the results of this investigation to come out. And no matter what, we do not need to be turning guns on our law enforcement or on each other as American citizens. We need to stand united as a country, during this time of turmoil, and that is critical that we have congressional Republicans and right-wing conservative TV hosts and radio hosts come out with that message to try to calm the masses here.
Eric, what do you make of what Douglas is saying? I mean, does he have a point here?
Of course he has a point. And no one in their right mind would condone violence, right-wing extremism, white nationalism. It's terrible. It shouldn't even be allowed. It shouldn't be brought up on talk shows. But I will point out, this is very interesting from, just 2 years ago. I'm old enough to remember 2 years ago when there was some violent left-wing extremism coming from Antifa and BLM, who were literally 7, 8 people died, $2 or $3 billion of damage in our main streets. And that would be considered the same thing. This pendulum has been swinging back and forth.
Wait, is that the same thing?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be?
Well, I'll let our panelists.
The same people that we were just talking about on the right, the politicians talked about defunding the police in the midst of all this. Same people were talking about getting the police out of our cities on the left, and the talk show hosts. They're the same people who on the right now, the extreme right, those are the extreme left, the extreme right are saying, yeah, burn the place down. No one with any sense or patriotism would agree with either of the extremes.
Let me go on to Eleanor. Eleanor, so much Republican backlash, fury about this FBI search, but we all know it was former President Donald Trump who appointed FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Yes, and it's Donald Trump who signed the legislation or the order that makes a felony if you mishandle classified records. So, back and forth, but you have the Attorney General, who is a very lawyerly, by-the-book person who would not willy-nilly order a search of Donald Trump's home. That's a very high standard that he had to meet, and it's all documented, and it went before a federal judge. So I don't think this is a nothing burger, as it was said earlier. And second, we have Donald Trump with a history of defying the rules and the guardrails around the presidency. He did not fully comply with the subpoena for these records. Evidently, there was some sort of an informant who did alert the Justice Department to the fact that there were records that were not returned. Otherwise, they would not have known where to search in the Mar-a-Lago estate, which has like 100 different rooms. So I think they knew what they were looking for. We're going to soon find out whether it's an independent potential felony having to do with the Presidential Records Act. I think that would probably create a huge furor in this country, because it would be like a process crime and half the country wouldn't accept it. So, but depends what it's about. And if it does involve the potential sharing or compromising of nuclear secrets, that's as serious as it gets. So I don't think we need to bring in Antifa and Hillary Clinton and all the other rabbit holes that the right likes to go down. We are focused on a former president who tried to overturn the results of an election here and who has encouraged violence in this country on January 6th and is potentially encouraging violence now because he's taking the posture of somebody who is being aggrieved by the government with an FBI director that he appointed. It's pretty
Eric,
rich.
do you want to respond to Eleanor?
Yeah, I mean, do we really think that a former president, Donald Trump, is capable of using documents to negotiate a deal on the United States' nuclear secrets? That's asinine, Eleanor. I mean, come on, please. And by the way, Christopher Wray's boss is who? None other than Merrick Garland, okay? Merrick Garland is the one who signed off on getting the warrant. Merrick Garland is also, and here's the point, I'm not being crazy or right-wing extremist or conspiratorial. Merrick Garland is also the Attorney General of the United States who, in contact with the White House, the Biden White House, agreed to investigate parents in schools for potential domestic terrorism because they were pushing back at school board meetings. So please, let's not say Merrick Garland.
I want to respond to that one.
Perfectly
Gene,
fair.
go ahead.
That's made up.
All right, number one, I gotta say, if you listen to what I said, we are speculating about what they seized. Let me repeat that. I worked there for 30 years. I've had search warrants where we had wonderful probable cause, but when we searched, we found nothing. So we don't know that. Am I saying there's no probable cause to do a search? No. What I'm saying is we could find out there's really nothing seized from Donald Trump's house or home that's relevant. That's what I mean by nothing burger. I don't know. I'm guessing. I am guessing. But I got to say this. Christopher Wray is a Republican to the core. He was in a Federal Society. He was appointed, obviously, by Donald Trump to replace Jim Comey. Do you think he's going to pick somebody that's not going to protect his interests if he's replacing Jim Comey? Point number one. Point number two, this search warrant would never have gone an inch further if Christopher Wray had not reviewed it and blessed it. That's point number two. And point number three, for the Attorney General to personally review a search warrant of this magnitude, there must have been a treasure trove. Let me finish, Eric. There must have been a treasure trove of probable cause. Now let's go to Virginia, where I know a lot about Virginia. Eric, you misstated what happened. A letter was written to the Attorney General about the Loudoun County School Board. Let me finish. Merrick Garland never said that they were domestic terrorism. That is false, and you should stop saying that.
Oh, he did. He agreed that they would investigate parents in the Virginia school system for potential domestic violence, like the other panelists just said, right-wing extremist, domestic terrorists. I mean, come on. I mean, let's be honest here, please. Could we? And one more, Gene. You're going to tell me that
Hillary's emails. Let's talk about Hillary's
emails. No, gentlemen, we're not going to talk about Hillary's emails. Eric, quickly, please.
Chris Wray wouldn't say yes if Merrick Garland, his boss, said, I got a warrant I want you to sign off on. I've already signed off on. Chris Wray would push back against his boss? Really?
All right, let's move on to the New York investigation. Guys, gentlemen, Eleanor, let's move on to the New York investigation. Trump taking the fifth against self-incrimination. Reportedly over 400 times he refused to answer questions in a civil probe looking into his organization's business practices. I want you all to listen to a clip from 2016 at a rally in Iowa and what Donald Trump said back then.
So there are 5 people taking the Fifth Amendment, like you see on the mob, right? You see the mob takes the Fifth. If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
Now, some would clearly see this as hypocrisy. Douglas.
I see it as hypocrisy. He was very straightforward in conveying that message that you only take the Fifth when you have something to hide. And we all know, and we're all old enough to remember, since you brought up Hillary's emails, Eric, when Hillary was under a congressional investigation for 11 hours on trial, not on trial, under testimony, she never invoked the Fifth Amendment, not once, because she has nothing to hide. But Trump invoked it 440 times. That doesn't pass the smell test. Surely you must admit that there's something there if you are invoking the right to not incriminate yourself over 400 times. So yeah, I believe there's something there, and hopefully regarding the investigation of the, I think we have something, the New York AG, down in Georgia, I think they have an investigation down there, and of course the investigation with DOJ, they're going to come up with something. They will find something that Trump did wrong, and we're going to see how everything plays out.
Eric, I know you've got something to say.
Douglas, what a smart man. What a well articulated point of view. but you're forgetting one thing, and maybe Gene's forgetting it as well. And maybe the setup of Trump speaking, saying he would never take the fifth if you're innocent, that's true unless there's a situation where the Attorney General of New York, who is bringing this investigation to the Trump organization, happens to have said before she was even Attorney General, she was going to get Trump. She was going to bring him down, and on several occasions used some bad language, talking about how she was going to go after Trump before they even had a case. She had a solution, she had a conviction before she even had a case. So why wouldn't you take your congressional, your constitutional right to take the fifth? I keep this in my pocket. The Fifth Amendment in here gives you that right to do it when someone like an overzealous attorney general is after you before she was even an attorney general.
So here's the question. Is the fact that Trump took the fifth and refused to answer questions over 400 times, is that going to hurt him in the long run, Gene and Eleanor?
Well, I got to agree with Eric on this. It's going to shock people. I have the same pocket constitution in my briefcase on the floor here, Eric. So I feel you for that one. But I'm going to defend Donald Trump, okay, for once, all right? I'm a criminal defense attorney. I was a prosecutor for many years. The Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, Miranda and its progeny, it is sacrosanct. So if President Trump wants to invoke the fifth, I don't care if it's 440 times or 44,000 times. He has the right to do that, and you should never draw an inference in a criminal case of inculpability. However, what politically and legally, by invoking the fifth 440 times or roughly, President Trump has opened himself up in the civil case, because in a civil case, you can use the invocation of the Fifth Amendment against that person who invokes it. Politically, I'm not going to get into the inconsistency. It's almost embarrassing to see President Trump make that comment about the mob and now do something that he criticized back in 2016. It speaks for itself. But when you invoke it for criminal reasons, because there may be a laser beam on you criminally, I don't want to even opine on whether that subjects the person to any inculpatory position or shows that he's guilty. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that in a criminal case.
All right, we are out of time, so we have to leave it there. Eleanor Clift, Douglas Sloan, Eric Bolling, thank you. Gene Rossi as well. That's it for this edition of The Heat. I'm Asiye Namdar in Washington. Thank you for watching.